Hi everyone, Joe Rebelo here, KENPOJOE known to many, here with Martial Arts Today Television. We've got a great show tonight with our special guest, Mr. Harry Mok. Mr. Mok is an award-winning screenwriter, director, producer, actor, again, martial artist well known in the arts of Kung Fu as well as the art of Kaju Kenpo. We're going to talk to him about his martial arts career, his acting career, and I've known Harry for many years, being familiar with his work through many films through the 1980s, all the way from the Rambo films, all the way up through various martial arts films where he was known as the villain, portraying with the use of this 300-degree spinning sword that I never forgot, and he was shocked I remembered. But we also want to talk we're emanating in that interview from the Action Martial Arts Mega Weekend at the Tropicana in Atlantic City from 2019. And we want to talk about the latest installment of the Action Martial Arts Mega Weekend, which will be January 28th through the 30th at the Tropicana in Atlantic City. 7 martial arts tournaments, a martial arts trade show with over 125 vendors, over 50 free martial arts seminars, and most importantly, the Action Martial Arts Hall of Honors, where various luminaries, celebrities, instructors, masters, and grandmasters will be featured from over 49 different countries. But now, let's go to an exciting interview here on Martial Arts Today Television with Harry Mok. And we're back with more exciting action here on Martial Arts Today Television. And I'm here with my special guest, Harry Mok. Again, Harry, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to do this interview.
Absolutely.
Harry, the first question I always ask all my interviewees, of course, is how did you begin in the martial arts?
How did I begin in martial arts? Wow. Going back, well, I'm going to be 62 on March 1st.
Wow, don't look it. Okay.
Thank you, thank you. That's what I'm proud to say that. That's what most people tell me. Anyhow, it all started way back when I was about 8 years old. My family and a lot of the Chinese in the South Bay of California, Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area, were flower growers. They grew chrysanthemums. So they created an association called the Bay Area Chrysanthemum Growers Association. Excuse me. And the kids would have their little teen club, you know, and they're all predominantly Chinese. And so what happens during Chinese New Year's? The festivities, the celebrations that go on for like 3 weeks. So they needed some people to do the traditional lion dancing. So as a child, as a kid, I started lion dancing. I was taught lion dancing. And what normally comes along with lion dancing? Martial arts, right? So that's basically how I began. But it was interesting because I started lion dancing, but I didn't start with the traditional Kung Fu. I was taught Shotokan. was learning Shotokan. So by the time when I was a teenager, man, we were like, you know, it was all about horse stance and all the stances and standing in a horse stance for a half hour. And then once we reached that, we'd have to have someone come behind us and stand on our hips and hold that position. And I think I held that for about almost 15 minutes. Yeah, to this day, all the strength in my leg, because I have small legs but very, very strong legs, and I owe that all to my horse stance when I was a kid. Wow. I mean, I'd squat like 410 pounds, 10 reps, no problem. I'd leg press 24 plates on the leg press machine, no problem. And all that I'm saying is due to martial arts and horse stance at an early age, standing in that gosh darn horse stance for a half hour and up to 15 minutes with someone standing on my legs. It was crazy, yeah.
That's incredible. You know, I have to agree wholeheartedly on the power of the horse stance. I was born grossly pigeon-toed. Like my feet were born pointing in at an 90-degree angle. Oh. And it was by training in martial arts that eventually straightened my legs out, and straightened my feet out, and straightened those interior muscles.
Yes.
Horse stance. It's all about the mabo, man. It's all about kibadachi, right?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Well, obviously, so from Shotokan, well, by the way, while we're talking about it, we're getting ready for the Year of the Rat. We literally at the beginning of the Chinese New Year. Yep. And that begins the lunar cycle of the 12 years of the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac and their visitation to the Buddha. So we're getting all set for that this weekend. So we know we're going to see some line dancing.
Absolutely.
Now, again, so obviously you started Shotokan, but how did you get involved in
Kaju Kenpo. Kaju Kenpo. Well,
what was your martial journey? Yeah, I should say.
A neighbor of mine that lived down the street, we called him Junior Hawaiian. Junior Hawaiian was cousins with Professor Gaylord.
Oh, Charles Gaylord.
Charles Gaylord, yes. So yes, absolutely. So Junior Manuel Vieira is his actual name. Brought me into the Gaylord's Kaju Kenpo, and I was trained under Earl Bowles, who was Professor Gaylord's first black belt.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, going pretty way back when. We mainly did a lot of fighting, a lot of sparring, a lot of self-defense techniques, mainly. The forms that they had back then, the pinyons, you know, to me, they were just so basic. I wanted to learn complicated forms. I wanted to learn stylish forms. So, unknown to my instructors, I was training Kaju Kenpo, and then I was training Choi Lei Fut with Dak Fai Wong.
Oh, wow.
And then I was training Siu Lam with Wing Lam.
Oh, okay.
At the same time, without anyone knowing. And I was training 7 days a week, and I tell you, there were times I was training as much as 7 hours a day coming up. Because when I was 14, I realized what I wanted to do. I saw my first Bruce Lee movie, you know, and who didn't want to be like Bruce Lee, right? So that's what inspired me to get all my hard style, soft style all intact. I wanted to be able to fight well, because the Kung Fu guys didn't spar back then. We were just doing weapons and forms. I mean, I must have, at a point in time, I think I had like 36 forms or so down. You know, between hand forms and weapon forms, and then we had to do reverse side. You do it the form one way, then you have to do it reverse the other way.
Wow.
So I wanted to make sure that I had my techniques and the style down, and be able to fight. So that way, when I realized what I wanted to do and actually implemented myself going into the film industry, you know, I was able to, you know, do all the fighting techniques. I even invented my own weapons, you know, to use in films, and you remember those weapons?
Oh, you bet. Well,
I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I always jokingly say I have a 162 IQ, a photographic memory, and I don't have a life. This is what I do. This is all I do. But for our viewers, let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Dak Fai Wong is one of the legendary modern instructors for the Choi Lei Fut system.
Yes.
Featured in numerous martial arts periodicals and everything from videos to DVDs. He is like one of the go-to people in this country for Choi Lei Fut. Choi Lei Fut, Choi Gar, or Choi family system, Lee family system, and Fut Gar, which is a reference to the Buddha fist. At one point, I believe for Grandmaster level, they have 500 empty hand weapon forms and dummy forms all combined for that level. Again, Wing Lam, many of us, sadly, he recently passed away.
Yes.
One of the legends of Hungar in the Bay Area as well. Also with Northern Shaolin, with Northern Shaolin empty hand and weapon forms. Again, ran the WLE Martial Arts Supply Company for Wing Lam Enterprises.
Yes.
And just a storehouse of martial arts knowledge in Hungar and the Northern Shaolin system. And of course, a little bit of a cough. Charles Gaylord, one of the few Haloi students with Adriano Emperado in the Kaju Kenpo system. And if you ever get a chance to see TV series Fight Quest, that was, I believe, on A&E or Discovery, there was an episode featuring him.
Yes.
But,
yes, there was.
So, all right. So now let's segue. So you're learning all these weapon forms. You talked about getting into film industry. How did you get into films?
How did I get into films? Well, you know, when I was 19, I had my own school, and at 19, and we had great students, great fighters. You know, and that was. They were taught well from what I learned from Kaju Kenpo. I mean, Kaju always had some incredible fighters. I had a state champion team. And a couple years into that, and knowing what I wanted to do in my career, what I did was I went ahead and ended up shutting down my school, and I turned all my students over to Greg Laguerra at the Crazy Dragon School. And he, at that time, he had Satch Williams, world champion, Tammy Whelan, world champion, incredible fighters. So my fighters were well taken care of with Greg Laguerra. And I went on to pursue my career in that industry. One of the first films that I worked on, I did an independent film prior to that, but one of my first biggest films I worked on was Uncommon Valor of Gene Hackman.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I worked stunts on that, and from there is where I met Eric Lee.
Ah.
So I met Eric Lee in 1983, and for some reason we bonded. We bonded so well. That's my big brother. He calls me little brother. You know, we've to this day. You know, I just love him so dearly. A great inspiration, great mentor. He's helped me along, along my path. A story I want to mention is right after we filmed Uncommon Valor in Kauai. Eric says, "Hey, you want to let's go hang out in Oahu? Let's go. Ed Parker's in town."
Wow.
Yeah. So I said, "Sure, why not? Of course. I'm young. I'm in my early my 20s. Somewhere in my 20s, mid 20s or so." And I'm like, "Eric, this is Eric Lee. I'm going to go hang out with Ed Parker." And I've competed at Long Beach way back in the 70s. And so I thought, okay, yeah, let's do this. So we flew over to Oahu, and we met with Ed Parker for lunch, Mr. Parker. And here I am, I'm just meeting Eric Lee, right? Sure. So Eric Lee's like telling Mr. Parker, he says, "Yeah, you should see what this guy can do. He could do this, this, and that." And Mr. Parker was like saying, "You could do that?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "I want you to perform center stage for me next year at the Long Beach Internationals."
Wow.
That was 19. So I performed center stage, Long Beach Internationals, 1984.
Wow, that's incredible.
And they never even saw what I was able to do. He wanted me to.
Eric Wood.
Yeah. So I ended up sending him a video, though.
Right.
And it was a qigong stunt that I did where I had these two sharp swords placed in this rack. I'd drop an apple on it, split the apple, and they were sharp.
Sure.
And what I'd do is I'd lay my throat on the swords, and then that were maybe about 1.5 feet off the ground. And then I had a set of blocks that were 1.5 feet off the ground here. Then I'd put my feet on these blocks, so nothing underneath holding me up, right? Hands behind my back, with 100 pounds of cement slabs on my back being sledgehammered.
Wow.
It was crazy. On fire as well, mind you.
You set them off. As martial artists, we do these stunts, and it's like we always want to take it up a notch.
Exactly.
It never ceases to amaze me, and it's always like one-upmanship. Well, can you do this?
Exactly.
Hey, what if I did that? I never thought about this. Hey, what if and we just like one-up each other. Boom, 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 boom.
We're testing ourselves. We're testing our abilities, testing our ki or chi or qigong. We're testing ourselves. We just want to see what level we could take our internal strength to.
Well, there's a phrase you always hear, stoic discipline. And I was talking to someone, I said, "Do you know what," and he said the phrase, I said, "Do you know what the Stoics were?" He goes, "No." I said, "They were a group of guys at the Parthenon who constantly, every day, would challenge themselves with, okay, today I'm not going to wear shoes, just so I can walk along the gravel and test my feet. Tomorrow I'm gonna sit in water under my head. I'm gonna have some time how long I can do before I have to come up for air. Or I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna walk from home and back and hold like 2 large blocks to test the strength of my arm." And this is what they would constantly do. And in martial arts, we're constantly doing that in different ways.
Absolutely. Now, so from there, because I wanted to mention this while it's fresh in my mind. So after our visit with Mr. Parker, we went down to the beach to connect with Professor Willie Chow.
Wow, the Thunderbolt.
Yeah. So we went on to the beach, and we met with Professor Willie Chow, and we were training with him. Yes. And back in those days, in my early 20s, mid-20s, I was training Iron Fist. So I had these like massive calluses on my knuckles. They're not as prominent today as they were back then. So Professor Chow took my fist, and he took his hand and he pounded his palm of his hand on my fist, and he looks at me and he says, "You're a good martial artist." And I'm thinking to myself, how does he know I'm a good martial artist? He hasn't seen me really do anything. You know, but what I think he was saying to me was, with these calluses that I had on my knuckles that were so prominent, I think what he was saying that I was a dedicated martial artist, because it takes a lot of dedication to train Iron Fist and to train it correctly.
And as you saw, I mean, when you look at Professor Chow's hands, all four.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The first two, all four of his knuckles, it looks like ball bearings under skin.
Crazy.
And over the years, I've met so many people who've worked with Professor Chow, and they would tell me, you know, like Billy Massarelli tells me, you know, he would have all these different devices and all these different substances. But he said he used to punch an anvil.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, think about this a moment. An anvil. This man is punching with his hands. And, you know, we talk about Takubota with sledgehammers, you know. But, I mean, it was amazing, this man's ability. You remind me of a real quick story. Masoyama was in Hawaii with Bobby Lowe. And Bill Chun Sr., Professor Chow's top student, Professor come in after the demonstration and go, so he has one of the broken bricks. He goes, "Break it again." Oyama goes, "What do you mean? It's already broken." "Break it again." "What do you mean? It's already broken." And Chow literally holds it in his hand and bang! And shatters it.
Jeez.
Okay, this is the kind of punching power this man had. So this is amazing. I mean, you know, the different people that you've met and encountered. So we talk about films, we talk about your roles. I grew up throughout the 1980s and 90s on your movies. You did a ton of martial arts movies, as whether it be the villain or a minor role, but you were always there, whether it's involved in fight choreography, different things. But one thing I never forgot, and I mentioned it to you, and he mentioned it earlier, you created a particular weapon. Now, I am a Class A weapons freak. I love weaponry. I teach 65 different weapons. You know, I always jokingly say, one person hits another, it's assault. Two people agree to hit each other, it's sport. Two people pick up something and hit each other with it, it's fun. Okay, so I always find that fun in weapons. But you created a very interesting device that I was fascinated with. That you created a harness with, and I didn't realize it was a harness. I thought it was just an individual weapon, this one weapon. That explain how you created this 360 spinning aperture that you made with these blades. First time I saw it, I was, what the is that? You know. So tell me all about this, please.
Well, you really, as a martial artist, you got to be crazy to even think about doing something like that, because you could just slice and dice yourself.
Oh, easily. Oh, yeah.
And I've had bruises and cuts using those things, because if you don't get them, you know, right, I mean, you could clock yourself. One of my students that I taught how to use them, absolutely incredible. Man, he clocked himself in the head and had gotten a concussion, like, you know, and I was so worried about that, because I'm thinking to myself, oh gosh, I hope the parents don't sue me or something like that, you know. I'm like thinking,
welcome to America, land of litigation.
Yeah, exactly. But that didn't happen. Very good people. But he did a performance and competed with both twin swords, dual swords, and I'll have to show you that form, and I could send you a copy of it.
Please.
You could use it. Absolutely.
We'd like to feature it on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely incredible. I was so proud of him. You know.
So how did you create it? How did you put it all together?
Well, luckily enough, I knew some machinists, right? And what I did was I had a bearing mechanism embedded into the grip of the blade. And then I made it to where I was able to strap it onto my wrist so it wouldn't fly out when I opened up my palm, because you want to open your palm as you're spinning it, you know. And so once I trial and error, you know, we made a couple different versions, and the bearings that we used were actually the skateboard wheel bearings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, skateboard wheel bearings. Yeah, absolutely. We actually use skateboard wheel bearings, and I have them with me. I want to show them to you.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, you asked me to bring them, and I was like, what? I didn't even know why. I was like, what? Okay, I'll bring them. Joe said bring them, I'll bring them.
Excellent. Well, fantastic. So again, what are you up to these days? What are you doing nowadays?
Nowadays, as far as I'm still training 5 to 6 days a week. About 2 to 2.5 hours a day with between my cardio, my weightlifting, and my martial arts and my forms. You know, I still try to keep that intact because I'm still involved in the film industry. I'm an award-winning producer, director, writer, and now award-winning actor because a film that I did 2 years ago, just we had it in an Italian film festival, and I actually won Best Supporting Actor.
Wow, fantastic!
Yeah,
congratulations.
yeah. So nowadays I am still producing, still acting. We're doing that film that we did called Forbidden Power. We're doing a sequel to it this year. And they liked my role so well that they now bumped me up to one of the leads in the film.
Fantastic.
Yeah. As a good guy, kind of a good bad kind of guy, a good bad guy.
Everybody loves the anti-hero.
Yeah, that right. I have a film that's coming out, a huge animated feature that I produced coming out this year called Animal Crackers, starring John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Danny DeVito, Sir Ian McKellen, Sylvester Stallone, Raven-Symoné, Gilbert Gottfried,
Wow.
Patrick Warburton, Harvey Fierstein, Wallace Shawn. Huge cast. Yeah, that's coming out, should be coming out this year. I have a television series that's been approved to go into development, and called The Legend of Jade Dragon and Eagle Claw, which is a Western that takes place in the mid to early 1800s. I have 3 other scripts that I've written that are being seriously looked at right now, and it just really all happened. It's happening this year.
Wow,
it's crazy. I mean, this could be the most incredible year of my life.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
2020.
The best time to interview him. Best time to talk about this in your career.
Absolutely.
So
you know, I have to say, you know, for all you folks out there, whatever, no matter what your career you're into, no matter what type of trade you're into, you know, just stay focused, stick to what you do. You know, things will happen. Things always happen when you stick to what you do. You know, don't ever give it up. These screenplays that I've had for as long as back from the 80s, mid 80s and 90s when I wrote them. I sat on them. I did not pitch them to any studio or anything. I kept them because I knew one day that I would do it. I would either produce it, direct it, and maybe even be in some of them. You know, and I stuck to my guns and I just held on to them instead of going out there trying to sell my screenplay, you know, and dump it off to somebody. You know, it's just like basically what Stallone did. Stallone didn't, you know, he had the opportunity to, I think it was like get paid $250,000 for Rocky, and the guy didn't have a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
And he held on to it because he knew that he needed to be in that role. And one thing I have to say about Stallone, because he hired me himself personally for Rambo 2, where I took the arrow in the head and pinned to the post. We were in the trailer. I was introduced to him in Acapulco, on set of Rambo. I wasn't working on it yet, but I was introduced to him by Richard Halsey, who won the Academy Award for editing Rocky 1. So Richard brought me to his trailer. Stallone said, "Come on in." I went in there, sat in there, showed him some of my photos, and I wasn't in there for no more than like a couple minutes, and he said, "I want to use you. I want you to double kicks for me." And it never happened because of all the political BS that was going on. The stunt guys were upset at me because I didn't go through the stunt coordinator, I didn't go through the producer. Stallone hired me himself, personally, okay? So some guys were kind of pissed off at me about that. But I'll never forget Stallone, who's, you know, I consider a mentor as well, because we were sitting there, he told me, he says, "You know, I hate it when people think that they know everything and they try to tell you to do things differently. You know, the boxing coordinator was telling me, you got to do this, this, this. And Stallone's telling him, no, I don't want to do it this way. I want to do this my way. I want to do it this way. Bam, bam, bam." So he says, you know, I just hate it when people think they know it all, and you know, they really don't know it all. And so he says, remember this, always remember this. Do what you feel, because what you feel comes from your heart. And if anyone ever tells you any different, you tell them to go F themselves, and you tell them, I told you so.
This is family program. You know, I mean, and this way, follow your dream.
Absolutely.
Listen to your heart, follow your dream, and make it a reality. That's what the show is all about.
That's right.
We're celebrating our 30th year on the air, and we're here with Harry Mok at the Action Martial Arts Mega Weekend. Harry, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And we're going to be back with some exciting action from Harry Mok and the martial arts here on Martial Arts Today television. Stay tuned. And we're back with more exciting action here on Martial Arts Today. And we're here with our special guest. Ready is Harry Mok from that incredible apparatus we're talking about earlier. Yeah, check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, some exciting martial arts action to give us a spinning blade of doom here with Harry Mok.